The design.md file is super important for designers, but it's not always obvious how to extract one from a website that you want to use for inspiration. So today I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. I'm going to walk you through different methods to extract the design.md file from any website, whether you only have access to screenshots or the full live page. By the end, you'll have a production-ready design file plus a Tailwind config that you can use and drop straight into your new project. So this video will cover multiple important topics. So first, we look where to find the design.md file. And then we'll start with the first method, which is to extract from a screenshot. And then we will explore the prompt, the one that we use for the first method. And we will then review, catch any AI mistakes, learn how to catch that. So at the end of this method, we will also learn how to validate the output that it gave us using the Google's linter. Then we jump into the second method, which is to pull the computed style from a live website. We'll then turn the JSON into a design.md. And again, we will verify, this time using the DevTool. So this, you can use it to also have a quick check on any live website. So if you've never used DevTool before, then this is a great starting point. So finally, we have the final method, which is to use Claude Code and Coworker to do the job. And we will see how to use this in a real project. So these methods, these topics are built upon the previous one. So don't just jump into any method right away, because you wouldn't be able to analyze or detect any errors or validate any output that the AI is going to give you. So with that being said, we'll start with the first one. So when we're talking about the design.md, there's multiple resources that you can go to. Obviously, the first one is the Google open source GitHub itself. So this is where you are going to find the architecture and how the whole design.md file is structured. Then we can go into another website, which is getdesign.md. This one is more of a library. So if you look around, you can see all the major brands. You have BMW, HP, Airbnb, Airtable, Eiffel, and so on. So these are a library of all the major brands, and they extracted the design.md file from those websites. So you know that the work that have been done into those websites are legit because they've been worked with top designers, right? So those are the top websites. But it's very limited because this is more like a library of the top ones. And if you want to get into like a smaller one, more niche website or anything that are not corporate, then you can go into Aura. So this here, we have this design.md page here, and you have all these templates here that are super nice. And this is not your typical like corporation. It's more accessible. It's more of the kind of work that you would use for yourself or for your client. So you can browse around here, and if we check, you can check any of the template here. So if we look at this one, for example, we have the preview right here, and this is a visual representation of the actual design.md file itself. So we have the values here. We have the same thing, the overview, the composition, colors, typography, layout, components, same thing that we have in our open source here. So now we can go and check, as I said, this is a visual representation. So we have the colors here, which represent the same colors that we have in the design, primary, secondary, accents, and so on. And then the typography here, all the spacings and the radius, the motion. So everything's right here and easily presented to you in a way that you can digest it easily, like visually, instead of just a full file, just full of codes. And also you can browse other templates here. There's many templates here, and you can come and have a look by yourself. These templates are not generic. They are really beautiful, and you won't find these kind of templates anywhere in the any other platform, AI platform. I'm telling you that right now. So you can come and have a look and then grab the design.md file from any of these templates, the one that you like. And it's just a great way to find the design.md file from any of these styles that you want. So the first method is the easiest one, which is to use a screenshot to create your design.md file. So it's not like the most reliable way to do it, but it's something that you still need to know because a lot of time you don't have access to anything else but just the screenshot. So, this reminds me of websites like Dribble where you have concepts. So you see all the designs here. These are concepts, right? They're prototype. It's not real websites that you can really explore. For example, you click on this one and you see this is just a design. It's a prototype. It's not a real website. It's not live. It's not production. It's just there to show you how the design would look like for this kind of website. So first you browse around and then you find a a style that you like. So you want to give AI as much context as possible. So it's going to be more accurate when it's going to create the actual file. So we have to take as much screenshots as possible. So if we take this design as example, then we can see there's a hero section. And, luckily in these kind of websites, we always have a hero section because the hero section is above the fold. So before the user scrolls. This is important because usually it shows like the brand color, the primary call to action here. And then you want to explore the rest of the section. So this one we have, for example, in this template, we have a learning section here. And then we have this, the course section. So this would be good because you have another layout. The whole layout of this section is different and the cards is different as well. It's going to show the spacing as well as other fonts and how it's the whole layout for the card, right? And then you go to another section. This testimonial section, we have another card here and the final CTA here and the footer. So this design would be a good example because it has the full landing page. So this would be good for AI to analyze the whole design and it's going to have an easier job to create the file. But sometimes you have other designs that are like this that don't have much content to show. You have this, which is the dashboard UI, and then you have the second one, which shows the dashboard and other pages, but it's not really visible. So what you want to do is to take as much screenshots as possible, like all we have. So we have one here. You take a screenshot of this, and then we take another screenshot of this one. So you can also take screenshots of like portion of the design. Let's say there's something that you really like and you want to make sure that the AI focuses on that, then you take a screenshot of that as well. For example, if you want this one, you like this one, then this component, you take a screenshot of this, and this screenshot alone will tell AI to focus on this component and instead of all the noise from this UI, for example, all the noise from this dashboard. And if the design has a light mode and a dark mode, then make sure to capture both because we want to see the difference and how both are handled. So as well as the login page and like the logged in dashboard, like the dashboard that you see once you're logged in, because sometimes there's two different design systems, but they're for the same brand. Okay, so now we get to the prompt. So we're going to take the screenshots that we had earlier, so the 3 files, and we're going to put it as context for the AI. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a much more specific prompt to get like a production quality file at the end, like on the first try. So this is the prompt. This is the prompt that we are going to use. And then we're going to send it. So let's have a look at the prompt itself. So it seems a lot, but well, not that much, but we have to understand like how the prompt is structured so that you can know what to change if you need to customize your own prompt. So first we are going to tell it to extract the complete design.md file from the attached screenshot. So these ones, the one that we got from any design that we want. And then it's going to follow the exact same structure as the one that is defined in the open source Google's webpage. So we have the URL here that the AI is going to be able to look. And then we have also the examples. We have the README file that is included in the GitHub, as well as examples provided by Google themselves. So we can take a look at it. And this is the raw output. So this is what a design.md looks like. So we have the color, and this style is atmospheric glass. This is one example. And then it's going to follow with, the same the structure that is defined in the GitHub. And then at the bottom here, we have the instructions. So the branding, the styles, the colors, typography, layout, the spacing, and so on. So after the reference, it's really important to have the reference, so to make sure that it follows the exact same structure, because that's what we want, because it is an open source and you will be able to use it on any AI that you want. So right now we're in Claude Code, but you can use it in any one that you're working with. Could be Gemini, Codex, or any of that. Then it's all about the structure. So we are structuring this and we are asking it to follow the exact same order. So in this order, the branding, color, typography, layout, and spacing, just like the file that we saw just earlier. So following that, we have the hard rules. So this is the one that, this is where you can, tweak it or add or remove or change anything that you want. Like if you feel like the result is not to the standard that you want. But this prompt is, good enough, really good for this actual use case. So the hard rule says to mirror the exact same style layout as the reference one. And it's going to try to capture the full design system. So try to, to understand the spirit of the design system, even though we only have screenshots of it. And then it's going to ask it to use real values, color values, the hex values from the source. Well, try not to invent anything. And this is something that is quite interesting and good to have, is that we tell it to use a uncertain command where the AI itself is not sure about the value or anything in the design system that it's going to produce, because by giving this instruction, it's going to put out stuff that it doesn't know, because it doesn't have access to, a website, only screenshots. So we try, to reduce hallucination as much as possible, because if there's no real reference, then AI will tend to kind of invent the, some stuff itself, the values and all that. And we're going to ask it then to output a single, design.md, because that's what we want, only one design.md, and it's going to use the structure that we ask and without nothing else. So this is the prompt that we are using. And I'm going to have it in the description so you guys can just copy it. So we know that AI is non-deterministic, meaning that every time you are prompting something, like it can give different result every time. So sometimes you're going to come up upon something like this. You have this file once prompted, which is supposed to be a single file, but then it cuts and becomes like a simple text here at the bottom. All of this component is supposed to be in our design.md file. So in this case, you just ask it to put all the content into one file, and then you can check the file that it created. So this is the file. This is a single file, and you can view it as preview, or you can use the raw output, like with the markdown, the code. So this is what it looks like. So this one is an example where the AI got it right the first time. So it outputted a design.md file right away with all the content. And we can then start to review. So you want to check like the typography, if it makes sense, the colors, primary colors, does that seems right with your screenshot? And then you can go on and check, usually the layout and spacing is pretty good, like elevation depth as well, because it's relying on the screenshot. But what you want to check as well is, for example, the do's and don't. So we want to make sure that it's not generic. So meaning that it can be just output like for any style. So we can check here that it's mentioning this, for example, here, keep cards on white with soft purple tinted shadows. So we know that our design has some purple, right? So this is accurate to the design and it's specific, not generic, as well as this saturated lavender border. So essentially, just make sure that everything seems right. You can double check and you can always reprompt it. Like if you feel like something is wrong, like don't hesitate to ask it to review again and, make sure that everything seems right. But it can only go so far with this kind of method, which is only screenshots. And we can also make sure that everything is in the right order following the example that we gave it. So, we have the brand and style, and then the colors and the typography and so on. So if we look at this example here from Google itself, then we see that we have the same order: brand and style, colors, typography, layout, spacing. So it's following like all the exact same order. And this tells us that it really followed the example file that we gave it. So once you got the output file that you like, we can do a quick review because this will catch anything that AI might be getting wrong because of this workflow, which is only screenshot only extraction. So remember that we passed this uncertain in the prompt, which is to flag anything that the AI is not certain. So we have colors that it's most likely sure that it's the right one, but then we have other elements that is not sure. So then we can just write the uncertain here in a search file, just like what I just did. And then you can go through them one by one. So you check this one, if this makes sense, if it's, following the screenshot here. And then you can go through them one by one and make sure that they seems right. So we have 8. So we have 8 of them here. And that's how you review the uncertain. And it's really great because this flags important parts where it will probably need a human review. And you can also, delete the comment, but since it's a comment, then you can just leave it here. So next time when you come into this file, then you will know where to pay attention. So then we have another situation where AI is so smart that it might be changing some stuff in the design. So for example, let's look for this. This is something that I noticed in the design. So if you look here, we have the ring, which is the walk, play, and distance. But in the original design, we have, look here, there's a walk, play, and play. So this probably be like, it's an error from the designer. So this is where it gets a bit tricky because if this was intentional, then the walk, play would be changed by the AI because it is so smart that it put, instead of repeating the play, it put distance. And the reason why is because the metric here is in kilometers. So we have this one, which is walk 45 minutes, play 20 minutes, and then for whatever reason, the display is 1.2 kilometers. So by reading this data, the AI deducted that it should be a distance instead of repeating the play. But if for whatever reason, in production, you need this to be like as it is, then this, which is very useful, but it could change your naming here. So you might want to rename this and pay attention to whatever the AI is giving you as an output, because this is where the review part is so important. So every time you spot a thing that the AI has as an output that doesn't seem right, then you have to ask yourself if it has changed something, it has fixed something, or it just invented something. So you have to pay attention to that. And then you decide if you want to keep it like this or you want to preserve the previous way, which was in the original screenshot. So another thing that you want to be careful with is that when it comes to motion, so for example, if we search for something like this, the Bezier, then all this motion, they're always inferred because there's no way that AI could see any motion from a screenshot. So this is all AI invented. Well, some a part of it, because here you see this the value here for the easing, and then the timing here for the duration, as well as the naming here. So all of this comes from material 3 here. So we have it kind of invented the motion, but it also had a reference in mind. So this is the actual reference. So we can look for where it's showing the easing and the duration. So here we have the duration here, which is 150 to 100 milliseconds. Some more here. And then if we go back to the motion here, we can see it here. So we have the standard, which is this. So .2 and then 1. And that's exactly what we had here. So this is something to know about, but at least it got some data from somewhere, like material 3. So it's not like fully invented, but you need to know that, of course, there's no motion in the screenshot. So also the naming here, you have duration, fast, medium, and slow. So these are all AI invented because Material 3 doesn't have those names. These are more like Tailwind-like naming, because that's what AI is trained on. Tailwind is very popular in AI, and also it's just easier to read. So the last step to verify your final design file is to check it with the linter. So we can use the Google official CLI tool for that I showed you in the previous video. So we can just run this command, and it's going to show the result. It's going to analyze and see the results. So in this case, we have 0 error and 0 warning. So it's important to only check for errors and warning, treat them like as warning. It's not breaking anything. So in this case, we are totally clean, and we have the info on the design system all here with the colors, typography, and all the spacings. Now let's talk about the second method, and this is the one that I want you to really pay attention to, because this is something that not a lot of people covers. So the previous method relies on AI guessing from pixels, because we only feed it screenshots. But this one is going to actually read the computed style from the browser. So there's no guessing. So a computed style is the final real value where the browser is going to show or render every element. So if we're talking about like the colors, for example, for a button, it could be like a variable, which is primary color, for example. So the computer style is a hex color, so it could be blue. And we're going to read directly into the file so that we get the exact value out of it. And this makes me think of websites like this award, which they showcase, all kinds of nominees for the award. So these are all real production websites. So the advantage of that is that we can actually tap directly into the styles. So here, for example, if you can check any website, right? And award themselves, the website give you some good indication. So you have the loader here, the pages, and we also have the color palette. So you have these two, but we really want to get into the real website. So this is one of the websites that was in the nominee. So you see that it's a real website here, and beautiful style, beautiful animations. So this is just one example out of so many that are available in Award. Or if you use this method, then you can extract the style, the design.md file from any website that you want. So this is really interesting, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So the previous method relied on. So I really want you to follow through this method. Actually, guessing the reason that we are going systematically in this method, so that you can understand now is the logic we rely on design.md. We call. So instead of just but this method is going to rely on something why we're calling computed style. What CSS variable is, why we are making counts of all the computed styles, why some values, final values that the browser renders signals. So once you understand that, then you can just tweak this method, in your own workflow for what kind of. So computed styles are the regex final values that the browser and you can capture when it's rendering, and just simply just change the prompt or just use it on other websites as examples, so that you have like a more of a production custom. So method. If, for example, the button uses, so then it becomes your tool, not just the primary paste prompt. You'll understand, like, so for example, everything button is how it works. Primary call. So then in future method, the next method, this value, this hex value is how all of this works, what all this comes together, and how you can use it on real production websites and understand everything clearly, not just go blindly, and you can just, like I said, tweak it and make everything yours. So this method will be using a script that we will run in. So for example, if a color, so let's try it out first. So for example, if a website button, we can have a look somewhere in the CSS variable, rainbow or gradient here in the primary color is then triangle. Then this hex value is what which the browser has used dark to render that element. So this method works on any website. So we're going to any production website. It could be a competitor's page. So we're going to read those values directly. It's going to be essentially much more any website accurate open in your. It's going to be, or any browser. It's going to be, and you can explore the rest of the website. There is no kind of get, the feel of, and there's no guessing because the value is there, what it looks like. Just trying what kind of shadows, for example, guess the color from pick kind of elements, what kind of border color, border gradient. So just look around and explore the website, see what kind of styles they use. So now we're going to use the inspect panel or the dev tool. So the dev tool is something I really want developers to follow along this the website. So I really want to run JavaScript right in the console. So that's what we're going to use. So to open it up, you can just right-click anywhere in the web page and click on inspect. This will open up this on the right side, the dev tool here. You can close it like this, and you can also use the shortcut, which is Command Option J. So this will do the same thing. And here, what we want to be is here. You can see the console tab here. This is where we want to be. So now you can see that when we open the dev tool here, you see all kinds of these red errors. But in reality, they're not real errors. It's just a real production website. Every production website has it. So this could be anything. It could be your own browser that has like ad blockers interference. It could be errors from third-party requests. It could be background services or anything really, because these will depend on every website what they're using. But you don't have to worry about this. All we have to do now is to just clear it. So you can just right-click and clear console, or you have this icon here that you can click and it's going to do exactly the same thing. So don't worry about like all these warnings and errors. Just clear it so we have like a empty state that we can start working on. So this is where we are going to paste our script. This is where we're going to run it. Now, let's have a look at the script itself. This right here. So this is JavaScript. So this script runs entirely in your page, in your browser, on the website that you're already looking at. So it doesn't send anything to the server. It doesn't install anything. It just runs a JavaScript that will tell the browser to have analyze itself, analyze the page that it's looking at. and it's going to show like all the CSS variables. It's going to count them, every visible element that you see on the website. So then it's going to summarize. It's going to summarize the whole thing into a JSON file. So first of all, it's really important that you don't just run any script that you find over the internet in your browser. This is very important for security reasons. So this script, this one is only a read only. It's only going to read what the website has, as values. So if you don't know and you're not sure about anything, you don't know the code, then the simplest way to do it, to verify, is to just ask an AI to check it, because if you don't have any knowledge in that, so it's easier like this. So you copy the code, go here, these AI are really good. They're really good to check if there's any security issues in the code. So we just ask it something like, is this script safe to run? Then you paste the code and you send it. So now it's going to analyze, the full script, and it's going to give us an answer. So now we have it. It says, yes, it's safe. It's purely a read-only diagnostic script. So, and then it goes to show you all the things that it analyzed. So there's no sensitive data access, all the things like that. So you can now have more confidence into you running the script. One thing that it flagged is that there's a 4,000 element cap. So in our script, but this is going to cap it. Like, so the maximum is 4,000 elements, which is usually okay for websites, but in very large website, then you can just bump this to whatever value you want, to be sure. So you can bump it to 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, it's up to you. So this is just to be sure that you're not missing any element. And you can just change the values. Like I said, you tweak the prompt to whatever you think is more suited for you. So now let's get back to our Versal here. Once again, let's clear this. And we are going to run the script here. So now you can see there's two different parts. Like this, the first one is our script that we ran on this website in this browser. And then we got the returned JSON format here at the bottom. So this is what we want as, this is the filtered result that we got from our script. So now first we need to understand what the script does. So let's go through it, an overview of everything. So here we have the script, and I will have it in the description, so you guys can just grab it there. So it has 6 steps. So first, it's going to define the constants and some helper functions. So if we look at it, here we have the browser default, because what we want is to just filter out what is the colors that are intentional for the design system, the ones that the design team intentionally want. So this is going to filter out default, and we don't want default values that any browser has. For example, this the unvisited link has this as this blue one as color, and the one that you visited has this purple. So we don't want this noise in our design.md, because it's not part of the design itself. It's part of the default browser colors. So then you can have other things that you can filter out as well. So for example, this transparent colors, which is not useful for us. And we can check here, we have the regex. So this is going to look and filter what looks like a CSS variable. So everything that, for example, primary color, secondary color, and things like that, this is what it's filtering. This is what you can customize to kind of like make it work with your flow. And remember this 4,000 limit here. This is where the AI has flagged before, Claude. So if you want to like customize things here, then you can just change the values here in your constants. So that way, everything's in one place. So then we have the helper function here. So then here in this section here, it's going to walk through every CSS style sheet that the page has. It's going to pull every CSS variable available. Like I said before, primary color, brand accent, surface, anything like that. So if any spreadsheet are loaded from a different website or a different domain, then the browser is going to count that as well so that you don't miss any variable. So after that, it's going to filter all the variables into colors only. And then it's going to filter again for brand meaningful names. So now we have this one after. This is going to check and filter the keyframes, the animations. And this, what it's really doing is just to get the variable names. It's might be useful because sometimes it's gonna, show the team's intent in the way they name their variables. So this is, it's cheap to capture, and sometimes it's gonna come up with something useful. So this here is where everything is done in this part here, right here. So it's going to walk every visible element on the page. So up to 4,000, like it was defined at the top. So for each element, it's going to ask what's the color, what's the background, what's the color of the border, what's the radius, the and if it's a font, it's going to ask for what kind of font, the weight, and the spacing, and anything like that. So then it's going to count all the values, and it's going to list them like from the colors, and then the typography, the text colors. So we have 7 different bucket. So because the color that is used as text means something different than the color used as a button background. So that's the frequency count part. So the most used values in each bucket is usually what defines the brand. So then we have this, which is the final part of the script. And you can see it here that it's going to print this into a JSON format, JSON object. So it's going to be grouped into, like I said, the categories before. So you can read everything easily because it's key paired values. So this will be the real output. So you can see here, you have, for example, we have the color spaces detected. Detected here, we have, top text colors, top background colors, SVG fields, font families. We have the font size, font weights. So everything that we collected before, it's going to be summarized here. All the values that are relevant to the design.md file. So this will be the result of our script. This is what we are looking for. Okay, so coming back to our dev tool here on the Vercel website, we're just going to copy this part only. We don't need anything else, just the result. Okay, copy this. So this is, I pasted it here because it's easier to read. So let's go through a quick overview of this, because this is the interesting part. This is what we ran the script for. So first, here we have, it found 549 variables. And out of that, we have 170 that are related to colors. Then it filtered all of these again to only 35, which are, the brand colors. So more relevant to the design system. So then we can check, we have, first of all, we have this. It has 2 design systems. So we have this, the guys, and the DS. So yeah, so usually this might happen, in production, the teams might want to migrate from one naming convention to another one, and they didn't delete the previous one. So we will also need to take care of that. So we can go through and see, we have the color spacing that were detected. The top text color, which is this one, was counted 2,304 times. So this might be the primary color, and this one the secondary. So that's why we are counting them, like the frequency of how many times it shows up on the website. So after the top text colors, we have the top background colors, and again from the most used one to the least one. Then we have the top border colors, top text decoration colors, and so on. We have the SVG and all of that. So the font size is scale here, font weight, top letter spacing. So everything here is very useful for our design.md file. You can see also at the bottom, we have the shadows, the gaps. So if we go back here at the top, we can also see, the accent colors. So as well as the foreground and background colors. So the background here is pure black, and the foreground is pure white. So we can see that in their website, this is what we have: a dark background and pure black and pure white. So now that we have the values, what we want is the design.md file. So to do that, we're going to ask Claude or any AI that you use to create the file from this value. And we are going to use a prompt. So this is the prompt. We're going to copy it. Okay. Then here, we're going to paste the prompt. So in this case, we have this URL, which is the Vercel, and the brand name is Vercel. So this you can configure it, you can change it so that it fits the website that you want to extract it from. So paste the URL here and change the name here. And at the bottom, then you have this is where you can paste the JSON result. So this file, this value here. So you can paste it into the prompt as well, or you can just, as like this file, and we add it to the prompt, like attach a file to it. So let's do that. So let's take the file, the result. So this one. So this is the file that we got, the Vercel result, the JSON file, and we pasted the prompt here. And then we run it. So while it's doing that, let's get to the prompt, this one. So as I mentioned, this is where you can customize it to your website, any website that you want. And then it's going to ask it to build a design.md following the same architecture, the same structure as the design.md open sourced by Google. So this will give AI a strict reference on how to create this file. So then it shows that to use the frequency, top colors and everything. So let's go to here, the hard rules. So here it says that for any color appearing fewer than 3 times in the captured data, add the comment low confidence and verify on the live site. So the reason we have this is because sometimes, it's AI, so it might take some like a color that it's been only shown one time, and it's going to assign it to, for example, a tertiary color. But this, sometimes it's from a SVG icon, something like that. But if it appears less than 3 times, then it's less likely that it's going to be like a brand intended color. It's most likely just noise, you know. So what we want is to make sure that AI does not assign this into a primary or secondary or tertiary if the color is shown just a few times, right? So then for the other one is for each color you assign a semantic role to, add a one-line comment citing the evidence. So for example, if it's a primary, then it's because of this and that. So this line, this hard rule, forces AI to justify itself and to think and come and have a thinking mechanism to make sure that it can be certain of each color. So this will, with these rules combined, it will help us into creating a more accurate design.md style. So we try to avoid as much AI errors as possible. So here you can always add your own experience, your own rules to the prompt, so that every time you will work with this, then it's going to follow exactly the way that you want. So now Claude has created the design.md file. So let's have a look. So here you see the steps, and then on the right here we have the actual file here. This is the design.md, and I already downloaded it. So I put it here, and so we can just analyze the result. So first at the top here we see the name, and it should be Vercel. They put the guys here, which is from the design system itself. So the AI was confused and put it into the actual name, but that's not like a big deal. We have the description. Then we have all the colors. So this is all organized in color tiers. Like for example, we have the surface system, foreground, the text, inverse, outline, primary color. So this is really useful as well as each line, each color has its own content that explains the reasoning behind it. Like that's what we asked it in the prompt. So for example, here, this surface, it used this and it showed the frequency. So it was used 37 times. That's why it put it at the top. And we can see this color here was used over 2,000 times. So that's why it's here. So this, the foreground color, this one is, it's not a full white, a pure white. It's almost white, but it's not pure white, right? So we can check the rest as well. So the primary color, which is this one, the same thing. So you can see here the foreground text. You have the first one, which was used 2,304 times, and then the second one was used 557 times, and then 67 times this one, and then so on and so forth. So this is actually really useful, and it does this to every color. So that's how it is reasoning. We noticed that there was two design systems. So we have like, and here the AI have noticed it as well. So this one, the guys, so the kind of the naming convention or the design system itself. So it recognized it and it worked with both. So you have this one, the guys, and for example here this is the other one, which is the DS background. So the two design systems kind of work together, as well as the accents here. So after that, then so after the colors here, we have the rest, which is the typography here, and then the rounded, the spacing, components. So after the YAML file, we go below. It's where we have the pros. So these are like the text that defines, like for us to read, that defines the design system. And then as you can see, we have the colors and then typography as well, layout, spacing, and elevation. So this follows the same architecture. So this follows the same architecture from the open source Google design.md architecture. So we have the brand, the colors, typography, layout and spacing, elevations, and depth. So it really followed what we asked it to, and we are now using the exact same layout. So this is how you extract the design.md with this method. When you use this file to create like your design system or create a website based on this with this kind of design, then it's going to be super good, right? It's gonna work. It's gonna be really close to the original website. In this case, Vercel. But it's worth noting that extracting a design.md is non-deterministic. So it's open to interpretation. So when you use this, it's good enough. You can use it as is right now, because we don't know like how the designers are thinking and how they the process, how they work. We don't have the spirit of the design. All we have to work with is the trails that they left behind in their code. So the variable names, all the intentions, where we're not sure. And like I said, it's open to interpretation, because you can have multiple methods to extract this, but each method could be different, and it's not like one is wrong and the other is right. Most of the method will have the right information, because we have some, like for example here, if we use a real website, then we have the source. So just have in mind that like with anything that we're working, it's like every time we work with AI, you have to know that it's always non-deterministic. So for example, if we go to the getdesign.md, which is a library of design.md files for like major brands. In this case, we look at Vercel. Then if we check their design.md, we can see that here the canvas, it's saying that it's pure white, and also the body is almost pure white. So, and when we look at the actual website, we can clearly see that it's a dark mode, black background. And when we go to our extracted JSON format values that we got, we can see here that the foreground is pure white. So right here, this is pure white. And when we look at our first result from Claude, then we can see that the primary color is not pure white. It's almost white, but it's not pure white. So you can see all the differences. Like in this case, like for the white color, it's not that much of a big deal because it's off just by a bit. But we can also notice that there might be bigger problems, like for example, the white background against the dark background. So this is completely different. So this is because the libraries like getdesign.md, it might have been not updated. It took like snapshots of a previous version, which was white, light mode. So then it leaves us with some questions like, is the color, for example, the body, is the body full white, or the primary color, is it pure white, or just another color that is close to white? And all these kinds of questions. So this Vercel example was a bit more complicated, but because there's actually the two design systems that kind of complement each other. But that's the reality of a production website. This example has this, but another live production website will have something else. So this is a good representation of what you are going to be faced with when you are trying to extract the designs. So when Claude generates a value that seems off, then don't assume immediately that it's wrong. And for the tokens, like some token names might have been declared, but the value itself was never used. And the catalog might have been from a different period. And the getdesign.md is not always up to date, right? So it doesn't reflect real production website as they change it. So it's just a library. So there's probably maybe a lot of designs that are not up to date. But to get the exact values, we have to inspect the live website. And that's exactly what we're about to do. Now let's come back to our Vercel website, and we're going to use the dev tool again to inspect each element. because this is going to allow us to check the actual real value that the browser renders. So there's no ambiguity about the values. This is the real, the source of truth. So it is a deterministic way to make sure that all the values are right. Now we can use this as a verification step, or you can use this to quickly check on any elements on a website, to have a quick look if you want. So let's open the dev tool again. Now, before it was on the console like this. So whenever you want to inspect any elements here on the website, you have to click on this one, the element tab. And sometimes when if you're new, then sometimes this will be like the console panel will be all the way up, and it's going to hide the elements. So if you click on the console, you're going to see the console. But if you click on the element, you're still going to see the console again because it's hidden behind this. So be careful about this. And the same applies for this one as well. So this can hide the code here, the actual code of the website. So you might be wondering why you don't see it. Okay, so here, let's move this down a little bit. And so if you've never been here before, then it's really easy. You can select any element, and then you're going to have the code, this view for the padding. So you can see the actual dimensions here and the padding, the border, then the margin. So the values are here. Right now, they're 0. So when inspecting elements, you can either move your mouse on the actual code itself, and it's going to highlight the element that is connected to it, like this. Or you can select the element by clicking this, and then clicking on the element itself in the canvas. So let's inspect this first one, the primary CTA button. So if we have a look here, okay, we can see here the background color is this one. So it's not pure white. This is the actual color. So this gives us the real value. So our values that the Claude Code generated for us is actually correct. So here you can check all the properties. So the align item center, everything is well displayed here. So you have the color, but you can also check like the border radius. So see here, the border radius is 100 pixels. So it's like a pill shape. We can also go and check all the rest of the properties. For the height here, it's 40 pixels. So this is super useful to really validate any element. And here you see I'm in the computed tab here, but you can check the style. I use compute here because it shows it's well organized, and it shows the actual computed value that the browser is displaying. So much easier like this. So now we're going to check this part here, the code. So you can just scroll it and explore what you want to inspect, inspect. So let's go up here and click on the body here. So now we can see that the background color is pure black and not white, as it was in the getdesign.md website, the library website. So let's check another one for the main headline here. Okay, so we can check and see all the scroll down to see the font, because that's the main headline. That's what it is. It's typography. So we have all those here: the font size, font family. You have font style and everything related to typography. So letter spacing and any margins, if any. So what I want you to notice is this one, the font size. So we got a font size in our JSON file that we got from the script, and it showed us a value. So let's have a look. So so font size here. The font size here shows, whoops. So it shows a 48 pixels here, and 48, that's what we got from our script. And in the actual dev tool, we see that it's not 48, and that there's a reason behind that, because what it's doing is that it is using what we call a fluid typography or responsive typography. So the way it works is it's going to change based on the size of your viewport. So for example, if I resize this, then you are going to see the value change. So now it's not, you see here, the value changes. So that's because it's responsive, right? When it's well, not this one. So well, my computer is a bit slow right now, but the idea behind it is that it's responsive. So the typography is big when on a bigger screen, and it gets smaller as the screen size decreases. So that's all about responsiveness. So depending on when you are running the script on the width of your browser, then it's going to capture that moment, that snapshot, and it's going to have that as value. But if you resize it, then you will see that the value changes. And that's the reason why we don't have a matching size here. Okay, now let's look at the secondary CTA button. So again, we see the background color. This is not pure black. It's almost, but it's not. So we have the real value here. And we can see again 100 pixels for the border radius. And we also have the color like this for the box shadow. So we have this color with 1 pixel wide. So this gives us like this ring effect. We see the border color as well here. And then you can just continue and explore whatever you want to validate or you want to know the value of the element. So we can just come and then explore any element, any component that you want. For example, this text or the text here, or you want this one, this container here. So we can continue like that. You can explore the header, the footer, and so on. And the more that you're going to play with it, then the more you're going to get used to all these properties and their values. So I encourage you to play around, and test all this. Check the code. You don't have to know any code. You just have, have basics, logics. It's all written in simple English and simple terms that you can easily understand. So whenever you're not sure about a value, then you can hop in here and test it directly, check the value directly. So very easy and very useful. So now we've come to the last method, which is to prompt AI to extract the design.md directly from the website that you want. So the reason why I didn't show this method in the first place is because if you don't know the reasoning behind it, then you wouldn't be able to, for example, know about the fluid typography. You wouldn't know how to check the values if they are correct. You wouldn't know how to audit the design system, the output that the AI gave you in the first place, because you never went through the process yourself. So the important thing is to understand the process behind it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to recognize or fix something that you never had to deal with before. And that happens a lot in real production websites. Also, the previous method, since you prepare everything manually, is virtually free, because when you filter things out and prepare everything to get only the colors, the variables that you need, the typography, everything that you need for your design system only, then you are going to save a lot of tokens, and that in return will save you a lot of money. Because compared to like an AI prompt that you would prompt directly, then it had to go through all the codes, elements, all the code line by line to extract the actual design, and that will consume a lot of tokens. So depending on your situation, if you have a paid plan or not, then this will impact you at a certain level. Because, for example, if you use Claude and on a free plan and you prompt it directly, you use AI with the full context and send it to a website, then this is going to eat up a lot of context, a lot of tokens. So maybe you're going to be able to do 1 or 2 extractions. And if you filter everything out, then you can just, have it virtually unlimited because there's so much less context. So as I said, the previous method are actually like the best way to do it. And if you want to learn, then you'll be able to recognize or inspect any value directly in the DevTool. So once you know that, then the AI becomes a multiplier. You'll trust it more and you'll know the process, and you'll be able to work way more faster as well. All right, so now let's get into an actual example of this method. So you can come into this, your AI chat, and we are going to paste the prompt. So this is the prompt, and we're going to send it. So we are going to do it on this web page as an example. So you can do it in Claude Code, but you can also do it in, for example, Claude Coworker. But first, let's get into the actual prompt itself. So let's go through it quickly, see how it was structured. So the first step is to just get oriented. So the AI is just gonna visit the URL and then go to the this library. You can add more if you want. So this was the get design.md just as a first step. Then the second step is doing the inventory. So it's going to go element by element and check all the variables. So these are the steps that we would do manually. Now we're just giving it to AI to do it. So the next step is the reasons. So it's going to separate like branding colors here, like the brand colors it's going to decide which font size or fixed token versus fluid typography as we saw earlier. So this is the step that is going to do that. And the fourth step is the drift check, see if it has a drift between the actual library and the website itself. Now, the next one is going to create the first pass of the design.md. And we can see that we have the example here to follow this spec. So it's going to create the first pass. Usually when you prompt an AI, that's what you're gonna get. But we have more steps to make sure that it's the optimal output. So then the next one is to verify. So this is what it's. So this is where it's different from other prompts. So this one is going to verify the output that it came up with the design.md file, and it's going to verify it against the live website that we have. So this, again, it's like something that we would have done manually. So now the AI is doing it for us now, and it's going to verify all that. And the next step is validate. So it's going to run the lint, to validate that there's no errors or if there's any warning. And also it's going to run the export for us for the Tailwind design. And we are going to have this as an output file as well. So then the last step is to report back. So it's going to give us the design.md file and as well as the Tailwind that we ask it here. Okay, so here in Claude Coworker, we can send it the same prompt. It's going to do the same steps that we asked because it's the same prompt, right? But here in Coworker, you kind of have like the steps here that you can see, and as well as the progress here. So this might be a little bit more user-friendly, if you will. So first, it's going to read the design.md spec from the reference, so our Google open source website. Then it's going to get the orientation here that we set in the first step here. And then it goes to the same steps that we put in the prompts. So the inventory, then it's going to write the first pass design.md, verify against live website. It's going to validate, so lint, and then it's going to export our Tailwind file so that we can use it in a real project. So it's doing all this now. So as it's moving on, it's going to check every steps that it's completed. So this is, like I said, a bit more user-friendly. The UI is great. You can do that in Claude Code Terminal as well if you're used to it, but a lot of people just want this kind of nice UI here. So we're just going to let it run and we'll come back with the final result. So now it has finished and we can see here that it gave us the 2 files that we asked for. So it also ran the lint to check and there is 0 errors with 2 warnings. So this is, and all this was done automatically, right? Very useful. It did everything, all the steps, and it's just like the summary of all the steps that it had done. And also we have 2 files now, the design and the Tailwind. So let's have a look at the design, which is this one. So as usual for a design file, the design.md file, then we have the usual layout. We have the name and everything with our here reasoning here. So here at the bottom, we have the same layout, the brand and styling, colors and everything, typography, everything you're used to that we saw already, the design file's layout structure. And also we have this Tailwind file, which is a JSON file. So this will extract, it's not like a second extraction. It only take the variables that we have in our extracted file here. It's converting it into JSON for Tailwind format here. So all of this, the font family and all these, the font size, display, the heading, everything. So all of these can be used directly in your project if you're using Tailwind. And if you don't use Tailwind, then you can export it. We can also export it into another format, which is a universal community token. And so for Tailwind, this allows you to use it directly with your tailwind.config. And then you can just use it in your project without like rewriting everything. So everything was done in the same process. This was one part of the steps, and you can use it directly in your project. So basically, you just merge this into your Tailwind config file, and this is another topic. So if you guys want me to cover this more in depth, then let me know in the comment. Okay, so I want you to notice this tab here, which is the studio. This is the website that we had as reference, but this was opened by Claude Coworker. So it came here and it really, it did the verification step. So it came here and checked all the codes and verified that everything is fine before generating our final design.md. So you can see where it can go now, because when you're working with Claude, then it has access to browser. And from the browser, now we are extracting a design.md file, but you can do so much more. You know, you can go with the scroll interactions. You can check for all the animations, the entrance animations and all that. So you can do so much more with this. So once you have the design.md, then it's just a matter of using it in one of your projects. So for example, here you can go into Claude Design, and then you can see that I ask it to create like a design website, create a design studio website for this with the design.md. So it created this. This is one shot. I haven't reprompted or anything, but we can see the similarities. It's using the exact same thing that we had from the reference website. So obviously you don't want to copy a website. You just want that as reference, and you build your own with your own taste and take it further and really make it your own design. But you can see that it did the job pretty well. So this is how you extract the design.md and then bring it into your own design. And if we look at the reference, you see the cursor here, the same thing, the same colors. We have this same custom cursor here with the same colors and essentially just the same spirit. So from here, you can just reprompt it, for the designs, what kind the kind of the style of the website that you want. And it's really a great, jumpstart. But this is using Claude Design. So if you want me to cover more about Claude Design, how you can bring your design.md here and then iterate and bring it to a production website, whether it's for yourself or for a client, and let me know in the comment whether it's this one or another platform or any other topic that you guys want me to cover. So that's how you can extract the design.md file from any website, whether it's a live website or not. If you made it all the way to the end, you're a complete legend. And if you want me to cover more free videos like this, then make sure to let the algorithm know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Let me know what other topics you want me to cover in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.